Hey everyone, and welcome to my mid-year reading stats. We're in the middle of the year, so what I thought I'd do is take you through my Notion template and have a look at what my reading is doing so far and all of the different statistics so I can see what I'm doing really well with and what I need to improve upon. So let's get into it. So this is the main page of it, so if I scroll down you can kind of see how I'm using it, but I've got my reading goals here. I've then also got my priority books, which is not going well at the moment, to say the least, because I want to read this entire list before the end of the year, and I clearly have not read that many at all at the moment, but there we go. I've also got Kindle books I've forgotten about here, which is going just as well as the other one, to be fair. I've also got vampire and horror books I want to read that is going terribly, but to be fair, I am saving most of that for October. Then unread Waypoint books is going so. I've got a whole load that I still need to read yet and I haven't done it, but this year has been a little bit bonkers, to be perfectly honest with you. And then down here I have my table, which is books read, books unhauled, and books hauled in, so I can work out how many unread books I still have on my TBR. And again, this is going really well because I'm covering obviously books hauled in really well and books unhauled. I just need to work out how many books I've read every single month and then do the calculations over here and put in all of the formulas, which I have not done yet, but that is a job for another day when my brain is working, which is not today, to say the least. But anyway, if we scroll down a little bit further, we've also got a preview of my series tracker, which is a whole other video. But if we scroll back up again and go and have a look at 26 reads, when it loads, there we go. I have so far managed to read 83 books in total, which is pretty damn good. I will obviously go through into the full breakdown in a minute as to what that actually means, but I'm pretty happy with 83 so far. Now, if we actually have a look at the charts, as we can see here, this is actually the genre breakdown. So I've managed to read 6 contemporary, 27 fantasy, 6 horrors, 18 sci-fis, 42 superhero things, and then 1 thriller. And this was something I was completely and utterly expecting, especially the superhero thing, because obviously I've been reading a lot of Wonder Man. I've also been reading Spider Noir, Daredevil, Devil's Reign, and then a whole load of stuff to do with like the Ultimate Universe and everything else. I was fully expecting superhero to be my main sort of genre, as I put it in here, so that doesn't surprise me at all. I'm pretty happy with how I'm going with horror at the moment, and the fantasy to sci-fi breakdown, I'm pretty happy with that. But then contemporary, I'm trying to figure out what that is. If I have a look at the actual data, because I can look at that on here. Okay, then I've sort of, yes. So it turns out what I've done there is actually mark down a couple of contemporary fantasies when I probably should have just written them down as fantasies. So no idea why I've done that. I'm gonna have to go through and properly change that. But I have read a couple of like straight up contemporaries, and that is The Ending Writes Itself, and I Think Our Son Is Gay volumes 3 and 4, if I remember rightly. They are the only contemporaries that I've read that aren't like fantasy or anything else combined, and I'm pretty happy with that as well. I don't sort of gravitate that much towards contemporary, but I do like reading a few a year, so I'm pretty happy with that number so far. And overall, the numbers here I'm pretty happy with. Then if we have a look at I'm gonna say book format next, as we can see I've read 10 audiobooks. I've also read 50 comic books, which again I'm not surprised about at all, 2 ebooks, 7 hardbacks, 3 mangas, and 11 paperbacks. And that slightly surprises me, to be perfectly honest with you, because I genuinely thought I had read more ebooks this year, but it turns out I haven't. And what I count as an ebook is the stuff I've bought on my Kindle and not stuff that I read on Marvel Unlimited. If I was going on Marvel Unlimited, most of this 50 would actually be in the ebook format, but the ebooks I'm talking about are actual novels, and I am slightly surprised I've only read 2, to be perfectly honest. I genuinely thought I had read more, but apparently not. I definitely am happy with the hardback to paperback ratio. That's absolutely fine. By the way, if you can hear stuff outside, I apologise, but I've got the windows open. It's very hot in England right now, and I'm not closing them because it was either that or having the fan on, and I was not in the mood to have the fan going. So apologies if you can hear cars outside or birds or anything else. And back to it though, anyway, I'm pretty happy with actually the audiobooks front, because usually I read one a month, but this year I've read a few of them, mainly because they have been the Murderbot novellas, which have been very, very quick to read, and I've managed to read more than one in the month, so I'm a little bit surprised about how many audiobooks I'm reading, but I'm not exactly complaining about it either, because I really love audiobooks. So overall, I'm pretty happy with this sort of breakdown. It means I'm still reading stuff, obviously, through Marvel Unlimited, which means the subscription is paying for itself. I'm also having a good amount of ebooks to physical books and everything else. But what I will say is that I think throughout the rest of the year, I want to focus a little bit more on the ebooks, because I should probably be reading those a little bit more and actually getting them off my list. Which means I do need to pay attention to that list that I've got on the front page, which is the Kindle books I've forgotten about, or I should really call it the Kindle books I want to read soon. But I'm going to have to pay attention to that one a little bit more later on in the year or throughout the rest of the year. But everything else, I'm pretty happy with the breakdown of the different formats I am reading in. Then if we have a look at, I'm going to say, author gender, let's have a look over there now, and we can see that I've read 33 female authors, 48 male authors, and no non-binary authors, and 3 books that have a multiple authors to them who are male and female. So overall, I'm pretty happy with the female to male sort of like ratio there. It's definitely better than it has been in previous years, so I'm pretty happy with that. What I will say though is that I know this has been bumped up because I've read a lot of Shauna Maguire this year, as well as Martha Wells, which has bumped up that number. But again, I'm not particularly bothered about that, because it still means I'm reading more female authors than usual. Even if they are the same two female authors, I'm still pretty happy with that number, because it is a lot closer to the number of male authors I've read, and usually this is about a third of this number, so the fact that it's very nearly equal makes me very happy. What I will say though is that I do definitely need to work on reading more non-binary authors, because I have had none so far this year, and I definitely need to be improving upon this number, to say the least. Then if we have a look at whether or not I'm reading authors of colour, this is definitely not a good set of numbers here, because I've only read 14 authors of colour this year compared to 69 white authors, and that is not good, because like I said, for the last few years I have been trying to get 50-50 here, so I have an equal number of authors of colour to white authors, and this is definitely nowhere near 50-50, so the rest of the year I'm definitely going to have to be working on this one and really actually like focusing on this and being more intentional with my reading. Then if we have a look at the disabled author numbers, again, it's actually a very similar like breakdown. Again, I think disabled authors is once again a lot of Shauna Maguire and Martha Wells, which is great because obviously I love their work and I love reading it, and I'm not going to complain about that, but I definitely do need to be reading more disabled authors outside of them, so I definitely need to be working on that one as well. Then in terms of LGBTQI plus author, again, this needs to be a better number, because again, it's only 16 LGBTQI plus authors, and I know that a fair few of those is again Shauna Maguire, so I definitely need to be working more on this and reading more LGBTQI plus authors, because this is definitely nowhere near the 50-50 goal, which is what I was hoping for and trying to aim for this year. So I've definitely rested on my laurels a little bit this year, and that needs to be changing. Then if we have a look at the ratings, as we can see, I've had 11 3 stars, 64 stars and 12 5 stars, and I'm really happy with these numbers. I will say it means that I'm really enjoying the vast majority of what I'm reading. I'm not looking to try and like raise up the number of 5 stars I'm reading or anything else, because obviously I cannot predict that or work towards it. I hope every book I read is 5 stars. So overall, I'm pretty happy with these numbers. These are pretty good, pretty solid, and it means means, like I said, I am really enjoying the books I am reading. Then finally, if we have a look at the age range, as we can see, I've read 37 adult books, which is not what I was expecting. I genuinely thought it was less than that, so very surprised about that. But then again, that is Shauna Maguire and Martha Wells, because their series are definitely more adult leaning. I would say that they can be read by teenagers, but they definitely feel more adult in a lot of ways, so that's bumped that up quite a lot. I've only read 4 middle grade books and 42 young adults, and what I will say is that with the young adult, most of that is again graphic novels, because unless it is something like a Red Band comic which is made specifically for adults, or if it's a horror or anything else, I do count a lot of the graphic novels I read as YA, because they are very sort of YA feeling, I guess you could say. So that is definitely mostly graphic novels again, but overall I'm pretty happy with the ratio of adult to young adult books. But what I will say is I definitely need to be hiring the middle grade front, because 4 so far this year is really not that many, and I definitely want to be reading more than that. So that does surprise me in a way, because I genuinely thought I'd read more than that, but apparently not. So I definitely need to be reading more of my middle grade TBR going forward, because if I carry on the same way, I'm only going to have read 8 this year, which is really not that many, especially for a age range I really enjoy. So I definitely want to be working on that a little bit more going forward. And if we now actually go from the charts over to my series tracker, we can see how well I'm doing with my series tracking, which is reasonably good if I remember rightly. So let's have a look. So I'm mainly looking over here at the continued this year bit. So I've continued on with some series, but compared to the amount of ones where I own the next book in the series, I'm really not doing that well. So let's have a look. So specifically, I've continued on with Krakoa. I think I'm actually going to DNF Krakoa at the moment, just because it is a lot for the X-Men. Like, there is a lot of runs going there. As you can see, it is all here. There is a lot of it, and it is a little bit confusing, I won't lie. So I may quit that for a while and maybe just not focus on that, because at the moment I'm definitely looking more at the Ultimate Universe and maybe the new X-Men stuff. I don't know. I'm having a think on that one, to say the least. I've obviously continued on with Discworld this year. I've read one more Discworld book. I'm not particularly bothered about which one I read next, because I do very much pick and choose on these ones, and I'm not reading them in any sort of specific order. I'm trying to remember though what that Lords and Ladies for a vlog was going to be, because I genuinely can't remember. I'm going to have a think on that, but clearly that vlog never happened. Chronicles of St. Mary's, I've continued on with. I've also continued on with Murderbot. I'm actually up to the latest book, actually. I have not read book 8 because it's not available at my library yet, but that is going to be the next one I read. I've now actually completed HMRC, and I'm actually going back round again and rereading it at the moment. It's my current audiobook, so I've completed that one. Yay, that one is done. I've obviously kept up with Legendborn as well, with the new releases. I'm obviously keeping up with Encrypted as well. That is the series I've been reading this year and focusing on, because I've got all of the books now and I just wanted to catch up with it. So I've been reading one a month, and that's been going really well. I've now actually finished Daredevil by Chip Zdarsky and finished off Devil's Reign as well, so that is fantastic. Winter Soldier by Ed Brubaker I also completed this year, which made me very happy and very sad at the same time, because I did not want to leave Ed Brubaker's writing and that storyline, but it did wrap up really well, so very happy with that. I'm also caught up with The Promised Neverland as far as I can get to, because I cannot read any more of it because I'm waiting for more from my library. But so that's absolutely fine. I'm glad I continued on with that one and took advantage of that. Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. Again, I've continued on with that one, and I cannot actually read any more in it because there are no more books available at the moment, though I am desperate for the next one, to say the least. Ultimate Universe, this is the one I'm actually focusing on at the moment, and I've actually continued on with it this year. I have not read Volume 4 yet, or Wolverine Volume 2, but it's definitely next on my priority list after actually X-Men 97 has come out, because I'm going to be reading a lot of X-Men then. Haven't decided which one yet, but actually, yeah, I have It's Age of Apocalypse, but that's going to be my next big sort of Marvel event read, and then I'm going back to Ultimate Universe. I've read more of I Think Our Son Is Gay. Template, and then also I actually now own Exquisite Corpses Volume 2, so I now can continue that series as well. So overall, I've continued a fair few series, but at the same time, these ones here are getting really neglected at the moment, along with a few more in the middle. So I think I need to be looking more at this tracker and actually being more intentional here as well with what I'm reading, and focusing a little bit more on series, because a fair few of these I own the next book and I just haven't read it yet for no apparent reason, so I definitely need to be working on that in the future. And that is how well my reading is going this year. So far I'm doing reasonably well at continuing series and also reading a lot more women, and also sort of keeping my genres open. I'm not focusing on just one genre or format or anything else, but I definitely need to be working more for the second half of the year on diversifying my reading and diversifying my authors specifically, and also focusing more on series that I actually own and just haven't read yet, because too many of those are languishing on my shelves and I really need to be getting on with reading them. And I think that's all I really had to say in terms of insights and stats and everything else and what I need to improve upon. So I'm going to leave this video here. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up. Comment down below, tell me one of your goals that you have absolutely nailed this year. I would love to know. Or if you don't have that much time, leave me, I'm going to say, a graph emoji down below to let me know that you were here. I'll also leave a link as well down below to all my social media if you want to check it out, including actually to this Notion template if you want to track your reading via Notion this year, or if you just want to see any more of my videos and see me hopefully actually achieve these goals, please click subscribe here, and over here will be the link to my previous video. But till next time everyone, bye!